Hello, this is Joanna for Go Slow with Joe podcast. This episode is about loose strings. I hope it helps you in your journey.
Go Slow with Joe, a podcast of talks between mind and soul, while rambling between personal and real experiences, and also some hypothetical, bringing always a deep meaning about everything with inner connection, truth, and mindfulness. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. It's important for me to be here with you today. Happy 2025. I know I haven't recorded in a long time, but sometimes taking a break is important. And to be honest, I don't know what is the future of this podcast specifically, but this is, for me, always an open channel. And I feel that this message couldn't be shared with you throughout any other method, any other channel and way. So this is why I'm here communicating with you. And why loose strings? So if you think about a loose string is an unresolved issue, and it's like a bit of a string that is kind of not connecting to the other end, right? And in 2024, in March, I had a very important moment, and for me, it was a loose string that needed to be connected for sure. So in March 2024, I went for a checkup of my health, and this was a 5 year anniversary of cancer free for me. If you are new here, just to let you know briefly, in 2019, I had cancer in my thyroid. I went through surgery, and this is why I'm here. This is why I'm a therapist. This is why I'm communicating throughout this method with you. And I have many other episodes talking about this journey of my life. So if you are curious, just check it up or just email me on info at joannacostapessoa.com, and I'm happy to reply to you and tell you more about it, of course. So back into loose strings. In 2024 March, I went for this important checkup of 5 year anniversary. And when I got the results of this checkup, I didn't have good news. I had a bit of a scary news. Not everything was okay with my health, and I got very worried. And also a bit confused because I was kind of sure that I had it figured it out. That this issue of my life, that this health issue was kind of closed already, that I had learned my lesson, that I was taking care of me, I was being my own priority, I was telling my truth, I was having a positive inner voice of myself, or yes, of myself and to myself and with myself. Um, so I was kind of confused, like, what is going on? Why is this happening to me now again? Like, why am I back here? And I really felt like backwards kind of in my process. So I was kind of confused. But at the same time, I don't know how to explain this to you. I was kind of certain that something was not okay before I had these results because, to be honest, I was feeling a bit disconnected from myself. And when I got these results, I told my doctor that I wanted a little bit of extra time before going into extra physical exams because I knew that I was dealing with something that was making me feel in a certain way. That was probably the root of it. And bless my doctor, she accepted it. I don't know if you're listening to me and if you have a disease or something, but for me, I had this option. If you don't have this option, please just don't consider this option for you. But for me, it was an option. So I felt in my heart, in my intuition, in my spleen that it made sense to me. And I decided to just wait a little bit longer to have any more checkups or before having any more checkups and just actually looking at myself throughout a more honest point of view. And when I say more honest point of view, it's because, as a therapist, for me, I'm 200% committed to my inner work and I'm constantly looking into myself and checking like, am I feeling okay? Am I doing this because of my ego? Am I doing this because it's a call from my heart? Am I doing this from a true point of view? Or am I just like pretending I'm this or that? But back then in March, I remember that I was going through a rough period, like emotionally, and I was going through certain like deep emotions and shadow work. So I remember that I was aware that something was kind of not okay and something was kind of not adding up in my life, in my social life, in my relationship. Something was kind of odd for me, but I was committed. I was having therapy. So I was like, okay, this might be a process in a period, and everyone goes through them, of course. But when I had this news and not so positive news, I was like, okay, this is a wake up call for me because it means that even though I thought I had this all figured out and that this issue, like health issue, was not an issue for me anymore, this is a wake up call for me to just not go back there. Because if I keep on postponing certain topics in my life, if I keep not wanting to be brave enough to be honest about these things that are actually bothering me, I will keep on just dragging this along with me, and I don't want that. I want to close this loose string for now and for good. So what I did, just to share it with you, I left the doctor's office. I booked a family constellation straight away. I booked other things, acupuncture, and all these things these were options that were in my mind and in my intuition for quite some time. But I was kind of postponing it, like, no, it's not the time. I don't have time, or um, it's not the time to do it, and I have visits, like all these things. And then when this happened, I was like, okay, I'm not going to drag this along anymore. This is my priority right now. I'll take some time for myself and I'll look into it. And I did. I can tell you, even though from a very humble point of view and from a very humble place right now, that this topic of my life has always been connected to something from my system, and I know this from the beginning. But indeed, in this moment in March 2024, I wasn't aware of certain things. And sometimes we don't have to be aware of them. We just have with our souls to include certain things. And this was not possible for me back then yet. So when this came up and I started working again on these things, I just realized that indeed there were loose strings about this topic and that these strings had to be closed. So I found out certain things about my system, hard things to be honest, but also things fell more into place from that moment on. And fortunately, a few months later, I had another checkup and I could, and I'm celebrating over 5 year cancer free. Um, which I'm very humble and very grateful for. And I think this was one of the celebrations I had throughout the past year and now this year that now we just turned into 2025. So it's like my biggest celebration. It's to be alive and to be healthy and not to have gone into that again. I'm truly, truly grateful and humble at the same time. Um, and why am I telling you this? And why am I calling this a loose string? Why am I sharing this with you right now? You may ask. Why, Joanna, after March, you are telling us this? It's because throughout the past year, looking back into this moment in March, I remember and I know now that I was feeling so much connected to the fact that our inner journey is something that goes into layers. And sometimes we have to go back to certain layers and certain topics in our lives to actually look at them throughout a different angle and a different perspective. And you might tell me, okay, Joanna, but I already know this. Okay, we all kind of know this, but when it happens to you, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to look at yourself and are you going to think, what am I doing wrong? Or what am I doing again that I used to do before I got sick, for example? Or are you going to actually jump into the topic and understand what is there for you to realize about yourself? Because what I felt from this moment was that, okay, maybe I forgot a little bit about myself in these past months. I've been putting, I don't know, work or other relationships as a priority. Maybe I haven't spoken to myself in the most positive manner. But you know what? Are these really the reasons why this is happening? Because sometimes they are not. And sometimes, indeed, there are, again, loose strings in our systems and in our stories that we need to kind of close them, like to close the cycle, to close the pattern, to close the story. And I felt in 2024 March that this was what was being asked from myself. Like, okay, I need to actually close this. There was something here that was not included, and it still doesn't have its place or his or her place yet. So this story is coming back. So my health issue was coming back because of this. And it's not easy to admit that. It's not easy to also put ourselves into a place of like, you know what, maybe I may not be able to control this, but I'm going to do everything that it is into my power or in my power and available to me that I can do right now. This is what I did. And of course, it's about my journey. And of course, it's about the way how I decided to deal with things. It's about how I felt like it was right for me. But I'm bringing you this because sometimes I feel that we may lose ourselves. We may lose our hope in our journey when things start kind of going south again. And when this was happening to me in March, I was like, okay, I cannot believe I'm going back there. I cannot believe like I'm lost again. Like, well, what's going on? Like I haven't been feeling like emotionally very positive, and now this is happening. Like, am I going there again? Am I going into that black hole again? Am I doing this wrong again? And you kind of put everything into perspective and into like a place of like maybe this hasn't been worth it. And I have to tell you, I was not so dramatic about it because like I told you, like I was still in the doctor's office and I was like looking around and I looked at her and I told her, no, I know that this is about something that I haven't been able to process and I still cannot point my finger at it, but I know that something is going on. So please give me some time and I'm going to look into it. But sometimes we don't have this strength. Sometimes we are in places of our lives and that we are like, okay, you know what? This hasn't been worth it. Like, for example, I've paid for how many sessions and this still hasn't gone or is not gone or this is just still not changed. Like, I'm still in the same place and we kind of feel like something is not right and we are not doing things right or the therapist is not good, like, whatever. And what I'm trying to tell you here is that of course, we are always open to look into different directions and into different solutions. Please do that into different people, even that can help us. But I mean, don't give up on that search. But also don't feel like everything you've done until now or so far, it was not worth it. No, everything is worth it. Everything is worth it. And sometimes it's worth it just because you still have a loose string. You still have to go back there and kind of close the string, close the cycle. And I'm telling you this, and this is a health issue, and or it was, and it's something that hopefully is not gonna come up again. But sometimes you might think this about a relationship, like with your mother, with your father. So people who are actually very present, very much present in your life, and will always be, even if they are not physically present. And it's like, how can I deal with this, Joanna? How can I actually deal with the fact that this relationship is always kind of going south, or like it's always bringing me down, or it's always requesting me of something more of me that I don't have to give anymore. And I don't have the full answer for you because it depends on each case, it depends on your system, it depends on yourself, on your journey, but I'm here to get to tell you and to guarantee you that if you are still going through that, it's because you still need to go through that in that present moment, in that specific moment. Because there is still a loose string somehow in your system, in your life that you still need to close. Maybe you are going back there as a sort of, I don't like to call it this way because I see many things in online that sometimes kind of scare me, and I feel like they may scare everyone. I don't feel like life tests us. Life, I feel like it's just brings us different opportunities for us to prove ourselves to ourselves. Um, and proving not in like a competition way, but or a competitive way, but proving ourselves that we've grown, that we've learned. So sometimes we have to go back there because we need still like to look at ourselves and see, oh wow, now I'm able to do this differently. Or I'm still doing it this the same way, but I can guarantee you it's not the same way as it was in the first time. No. There is this sentence that my husband always says, which is uh, the man cannot go through the same river twice. I think it's like this because the river is not the same and the man is not the same either. So life is always like flowing and it's always changing and it's always like having different turns. Um, and if you are back there, just know maybe you just went one layer even deeper. And this is the new layer that is being requested from you. And it's a layer that will keep you humble. It's a layer that will keep you grounded in yourself, in your story. And because I believe that we have a topic of our life, I believe that there is one topic that is stronger than every other topic. But I also believe that this topic can actually make you grow even more. And when it stops making you grow, when it becomes a weight, you just have to let it go. And sometimes this is the string that you just have to kind of let go of. So it can definitely, in the end, connect to the other end. If you imagine a string, imagine you are kind of holding the end of the string, so you don't want to let it go, but sometimes you just need to let it go and the string will finally connect. Because sometimes what we are doing also in our systems is that we are like kind of holding on to that piece of story, onto that story that is harder or that it's hard and it's been hard because we are still, I don't know, loyal to someone who hasn't been seen in that story. But the moment when we decide to just let it go, life, the system, the field, it's gonna kind of find its way, maybe until the place where it finally closes it and it gets closed and it gets just finally let go of from your life. So loose strings because of this, because indeed our inner journey and our therapeutical journey and us looking at ourselves, it's something that it's not regular, it's not like a fine line, it's full of bumps and it's full of, I don't know, obstacles, and it's full of joy and beautiful things and nights where you cannot sleep and early mornings and mornings where you have to sleep a little bit more. So life is not the same every single day, and our journey, sometimes throughout the same topics, like it was my case, or throughout other topics, our journey requests that we grow up and that we learn how to be in the present moment with what is being requested from us in that present moment. And for that, we need to be adults. For that, we need to assume, and we need to, yes, assume our own responsibility for our own life. And we need to know that sometimes we are back there because we need to be back there. And sometimes it's not back there, it's just into that again. Um, I'm happy to be here telling you, and so grateful to be here telling you that I was able a few months later to celebrate the 5 year cancer free anniversary. Fortunately, gladly, blessedly. um, and I know that every story can go differently. And this is a topic that it's very strong within me because, of course, it's my health and it's the way how I started this whole journey. But again, I'm here in a very humble way. And I just want to tell you, please do not lose your hope. Do not lose your hope about your inner journey. If you are back into a place, just look into it. Ask for help. If you are again dealing with a certain relationship, with a certain pattern, just go into it. Don't feel like, oh, but I already worked on this. Why am I back there? Sometimes there is more than what we just can see in one session or in 1 year sessions. I don't know, whatever you are doing. But sometimes there is a little bit more. Sometimes there is like another step, sometimes there is another layer, sometimes there is still the loose string or even more than one loose string. And it's our journey and it's our job to just go into that again and just, okay, let me just look into it again. Let me see what else is here and also accept what I cannot change and maybe let it go. I hope this is a lesson that you can start your 2025 with. For me, it's something that I have been, I don't want to say carrying because carrying always brings like a weight, but I have been holding very closely to myself, and now I decided that it was time to also let it go. And to, even though I'm very humble about it, you never say never, but I just feel like I need to also give you this message and let this message go into the world so it can guide you, and I can also let it go off of me and off my shoulders. And I feel like life lessons they are also about it. They are also about us sharing them so they can help other people as well. And I'm finally ready to let it go in that sense. I hope you're very well. I hope this guides you, and I will see you when I see you. Hopefully, you can text me, also give me your feedback about this episode and about this lesson. And more importantly, take care of yourself.